It's March 22nd here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with the ongoing medical deadlock here in South Korea. A group of professors say they could retract their intent to resign if the government is willing to negotiate. Professors, in the meantime, will reduce their working hours starting next Monday. The U.S. Justice Department has filed a landmark lawsuit against Apple for illegally monopolizing the smartphone market and crushing competition. Denying the claims, the tech giant says it will vigorously fight the lawsuit. South Korea drew 1-1 with Thailand in its 2026 World Cup qualifying match here in Seoul on Thursday night. The teams will face each other again in Bangkok at 9:30 p.m. next Tuesday, Korea time. Medical professors who are set to resign next week say they're willing to reconsider if the government is willing to negotiate. In the meantime, starting Monday, professors will be on duty on much reduced working hours. Choi Min-jung reports.
Calls for dialogue seem to be growing within South Korea's medical community. Following a weeks-long walkout by trainee doctors, medical professors have also threatened to resign next week in protest of the government's plan to increase the number of medical students. However, speaking during an interview with a local broadcaster on Thursday, the head of a group of medical school professors hinted that the professors could sit down for talks with the government if punitive measures imposed on junior doctors are lifted. The chief added that professors could even withdraw their resignations if the government relaxes the measures. He also called for more objective data before increasing the medical school admissions quota.
We are not opposed to increasing the number of medical school admissions per se, but we think that it could be possible if an acceptable figure is obtained through objective verification. However, the government's plan to increase the quota by 2,000 is not objective data that any doctor can accept.
Meanwhile, the Medical Professors Association of Korea has announced that it would reduce the working hours of hospital professors to 52 hours a week starting next Monday. They will also minimize outpatient treatment starting in April. The decision was made to focus more on treating high-risk patients. Also starting next Monday, the government is set to begin suspending the licenses of trainee doctors.
Starting next week, the government will enforce license suspensions for doctors who have defied the return-to-work order.
The Health Ministry has issued prior suspension notices to about 5,000 trainee doctors who must submit their responses by next Monday. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Now, over in Gaza, Israel says its military forces have captured some 650 terror suspects in a raid on Gaza's largest hospital, which also resulted in 140 gunmen being killed. Lee Seung-jae has the details.
The Israel Defense Forces and Shin Bet security agency said Thursday that 650 terror suspects were captured, including several very significant senior Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad commanders, during a massive raid at Gaza's largest hospital. It added that it also killed 140 gunmen during the raid. The announcement came on the fourth day of military operations at the Al-Shifa hospital, where Israel said it captured Hussam Salameh, the commander of PIJ's observation and intelligence unit in Gaza, and his brother, Wissam Salameh, who is the head of the Islamic Jihad's propaganda unit in the region. The raid came as the Israeli military claimed that it had received information that Hamas and others were using the hospital as a hideout to reorganize their battle lines. However, Hamas accused Israel of killing dozens of displaced people, patients, and medical staff during the raid. IDF spokesman Daniel Hagari said no civilians, doctors, or medical personnel were hurt during the operation. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, during a joint press conference in Cairo with his Egyptian counterpart on Thursday, said that a major Israeli offensive in Rafah city is unnecessary and would be a mistake. The top U.S. envoy argued that such an operation would worsen the situation and that there's a better way to deal with threats posed by Hamas. Blinken added that while it looks difficult, a ceasefire agreement could be possible, as he noted that gaps are narrowing. The U.S. Department of Defense on Thursday announced that the defense chiefs of the United States and Israel will meet next week at the Pentagon. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and his Israeli counterpart Yoav Gallant are expected to discuss the need to expand humanitarian aid to Palestinian civilians and ensure the safety of more than 1 million residents in Rafah. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The U.S. Justice Department is accusing Apple of monopolizing the smartphone market and preventing competition. Now, the lawsuit adds Apple to the list of tech giants targeted by government crackdowns. Shin Se-byuk has more.
The U.S. Justice Department, together with the District of Columbia and 15 U.S. states on Thursday, filed an antitrust lawsuit against Apple related to the company's iPhone. At a press briefing on Thursday, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland accused the tech giant of monopolistic practices in its iPhone sales.
That Apple has consolidated its monopoly power, not by making its own products better, but by making other products worse.
He highlighted two key issues. First, Apple's imposition of contractual restrictions and fees that limit what developers can offer iPhone users. And second, its selective restriction of access to the iPhone's operating system for third-party apps and accessories. Garland criticized Apple for limiting the functionality of competitor smartwatches and hindering messaging compatibility between iPhones and Android devices, claiming these actions contribute to an unfairly closed ecosystem. The Justice Department contends that Apple has intentionally made it difficult for users to switch from iPhones to other smartphones, effectively keeping them within its ecosystem. The Attorney General warned that if left unchallenged, Apple would only strengthen its monopoly, emphasizing that consumers shouldn't have to pay higher prices due to a company's violation of antitrust laws. Following the lawsuit, Apple issued a statement saying that the lawsuit threatens the core identity and unique principles that distinguish Apple products in highly competitive markets. The company also said that if the lawsuit is successful, it could stop the production of the kind of advanced and integrated products that people expect from Apple. It could also lead to significant changes across the company's ecosystem. This might include the reduction of developer fees, allowing third-party digital wallets more freedom, and enhancing compatibility with non-Apple devices and services, potentially altering how users interact with Apple products and services. Apple joins the list of other major tech giants in the U.S. to face comprehensive legal challenges from the government alongside Google, Meta, and Amazon. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
The past few days have been exciting for baseball fans here in South Korea, with the first Major League Baseball game of the new season taking place for the first time ever here in Seoul. For more on the highlights, we're joined by Yoo Ji-ho this morning. Welcome back, Ji-ho.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. It was quite a thrilling and special event, especially for all the baseball fans here in South Korea, wasn't it?
I sure was. I'm a baseball fan myself, and it was a privilege for me personally to be able to cover those games between the LA Dodgers and the San Diego Padres out at gov't Stadium in Seoul. Like you said, the very first Major League Baseball regular season games taking place in Korea. Fans were, they had the chance, the rare opportunity to watch big leaguers in person. And, I think it was long overdue. Baseball is such a big sport in this country. And I think these fans deserved this opportunity a long time ago. gov't Stadium has only about 16,000 seats. This is quite small compared to, considering the major league standards, where teams typically play in front of 30,000 plus fans. So, hopefully maybe the next time, maybe there will be a next time. And so another city in the country gets to host these games, hopefully it's going to be at a bigger stadium. And hopefully we're going to be able to give more fans a chance to watch these games.
Definitely. I've also noticed that there were a lot of foreign fans at the game, which seem to be big fans of Ohtani. Now, Ohtani did really bring all the fans from all around the world, didn't he?
Well, he certainly did. He was a main attraction for this series. A lot of fans from Japan were able to travel to Seoul to watch him play. And, significantly, this was also his first Major League regular season game as a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Of course, he made a big splash in the winter during the offseason signed a massive 10-year, $700 million contract to join the Dodgers. These were the first 2 games they did play for them in the regular season action. So pretty monumental occasion for Ohtani, who is certainly one of the best players and one of the biggest stars in Major League Baseball today.
Definitely. We have to talk more about the highlights. It wasn't just Ohtani. Park Chan-ho, he is one of South Korea's first baseball stars. He threw out the first pitch of the Seoul series opener. And also former Dodgers ace Ryu Hyun-jin also made his appearance, right?
Right. So Park Chan-ho was the first Korean player ever in Major League Baseball, made his debut with the Dodgers back in 1994. And it also later played for the San Diego Padres. So it was really a no-brainer choice as the person who to throw out the ceremony of first pitch. Of course, he had that split jersey, Padgers on the front,
right,
and his iconic number 61 on the back. So obviously, he didn't have. He kind of tried to, I think, stay neutral in the series. Now, with Ryu, he played for the Dodgers for several seasons, and of course, the current manager Dave Roberts had Ryu for several seasons as well. And he had his best year of his Major League career as a Dodger back in 2019. So Ryu visited with Roberts, before one of the games, was able to reconnect with his former manager, brought in some delicious gifts as well for some of his former teammates too.
Right, Ryu did really make a smart move with the uniform there. Now, with the opener played out in front of some very Korean-style cheering, for our viewers who may not be so familiar with it, what is cheering like at baseball games here in South Korea?
Well, it is basically defined by constant noise, chanting and singing from very first pitch to the very last out. And this is a very, I guess, unique experience for a lot of the players on both teams. They got the full KBO treatment, if you will. This constant singing and chanting and a lot of dancing going on in between innings from the cheerleaders. They brought some of the KBO player songs and replaced some of the words, some of the lyrics to fit the players from the Dodgers and the Padres. So, the managers for both teams, Mike Field for the Padres and Dave Roberts for the Dodgers, they spoke all week about how different, how interesting, how entertaining this whole cheering culture was for them. And, some of the players even talked about how maybe they should try to adopt that back home in the U.S. So we'll see what happens with that suggestion, if you will. But they certainly got a taste of what it's like to watch and also play baseball in Korea.
Definitely. Well, Ji-ho, as a person who was at the opener, how did foreign spectators and players enjoy it?
Yeah, it was kind of difficult for people from overseas to get tickets, but for those living in Korea, right. Some of them, I guess a lot of them were able to find tickets to get into games. And again, people from LA or San Diego or other parts of California, this is their opportunity to watch their favorite teams in Seoul. So, and I'm sure they enjoyed it. I think it would have been nice if they had made it a little easier for them to find tickets for people from overseas. But this is the first time, so you kind of learn from some of the mistakes made along the way, and hopefully, like I said earlier, there will be a next time for games for Major League Baseball in this country.
Definitely, so jealous you got to enjoy it. All right, Ji-ho, thank you so much for your time this morning. You have a great day.
You too. Thanks for having me today.
The South Korea men's national football team's recent struggles continued on Thursday evening as the team settled for a 1-1 draw against Thailand. Playing in front of a sold-out Seoul World Cup stadium, Captain Son Heung-min opened the scoring with a left-footed shot from the center of the box, set up by midfielder Lee Jae-sung to make it 1-0 in the 42nd minute. But Thailand replied with a 62nd minute goal, with Sofana Muyenta poking in the equalizer from close range. Now, South Korea remains still top of their World Cup qualifying group with 7 points, with Thailand sits in second place with 4 points. The two teams play again on Tuesday in Bangkok at 7:30 p.m. local time. Today is World Water Day. Now, we all know how essential water is for life, but many are still suffering from a lack of clean water. Our Holi has this report.
The call to save water has almost become a cliche, with most people understanding the importance of water as a precious resource for life. But it's more than just simply using less water.
That's the reason why we have set up Sustainable Development Goal number 6, Water in Sanitation, which emphasizes the multi-phases role of water for socio-economic development, as well as environmental sustainability.
One of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals is to ensure access to water and sanitation for all by 2030. Key steps include improving water use efficiency and enhancing international water cooperation.
So then we need to think about more broadly, not only about our own daily consumption, but also any kind of impact we are giving on the environment and human development as a whole.
The theme of this year's Water Day is Water for Peace, which is significant considering the impact of conflict on the water supplies of people living in war-torn regions due to contamination or even the complete destruction of water-related infrastructure. Humanitarian aid organization MEDER tells us more.
War in Ukraine has been going on for 2 years now, and from continuous shelling and airstrikes, the water infrastructures such as boreholes and pipelines, they have been seriously damaged or completely destroyed.
In Gaza, UNICEF estimates that displaced children have access to only 1.5 to 2 liters of water per day, which falls below the recommended minimum requirement for survival of 3 liters per day. This means that people, especially children, are at risk of dying from related illnesses like serious diarrhea or malnutrition, even if they survive the fighting. There are also many other forgotten crises taking place around the world that receive less attention, such as conflicts in Syria, Sudan, and Yemen.
Every year, 30 million people flee their homes because of conflict or disaster, and these people often no longer have access to water sources and sanitation services, and they become vulnerable to epidemics.
What can we do to support those in need?
People can help other people who are suffering by simply sharing information about this issue, and people can also directly support the relief efforts on the ground by donating to an organization like MEDER.
World Water Day on March 22nd reminds us of the need to save water. Everybody has the right to safe, accessible drinking water, but not everyone is able to get it. Raising awareness is the first step toward helping others and protecting our environment. Holi, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Kim Ji-young, and now we turn over to stories from around the world. At the EU summit in Brussels on Thursday, pro-nuclear European leaders and energy experts called for more nuclear energy use in Europe in a political push to revive the declining nuclear industry in the region. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen stressed the urgency of combating climate change at the first ever nuclear energy summit, saying that the readily available source of low-emission electricity can help pave a cost-effective path to net zero. Von der Leyen also said that the future of nuclear energy depends on the industry's ability to deliver on time and on budget, adding that other potential avenues, such as decarbonized heat or to supply low-emission hydrogen, can help reach climate goals. The need to find alternatives to Russian gas and meet EU's climate targets is driving the renewed interest. In the US, a patient has received a transplant of a genetically modified pig's kidney, marking the first ever transplant of a gene-edited pig kidney into a living person. The patient is reportedly in recovery and expected to be discharged soon. Doctors at the Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston operated on the 62-year-old patient for 4 hours on Saturday. The patient, Rick Slayman, has been diagnosed with end-stage kidney disease and had been a patient in the hospital's transplant program for 11 years. Slayman, who suffered from diabetes and high blood pressure for many years, received his first kidney transplant from a human donor in 2018. Dr. Tatsuo Kawai, the surgeon behind the operation, said the pig organ was exactly the same size as a human kidney, saying that it was truly the most beautiful kidney I have ever seen. Doctors said that although Slayman's new pig kidney could last for years, many unknowns in animal organ transplant may result in the patient returning to dialysis if it fails. In India, thousands of Hindu devotees gathered to witness and celebrate the colorful ritual of the festival of Holi. The Varanasi, its city, on Thursday, Hindu ascetics and priests threw ashes on the gathered crowd from the temple. This ritual, called Masan Holi, is because Lord Shiva, who grants eternal peace to the dead, is believed to play Holi with pyre ashes. Crowds celebrated and danced to religious songs on the day that signifies a triumph of good over evil in Hinduism. The world's oldest living land animal, Jonathan the tortoise, has landed 2 spots in the Guinness World Records. The Seychelles giant tortoise is at least 192 years old, with his caretaker saying that the age is a conservative estimate. Jonathan is the oldest living land animal and the oldest chelonian, a grouping of both tortoises and turtles. He lives on the remote island of St. Helena, famously known as the site of Napoleon Bonaparte's exile. Jonathan's caretaker, Teeny Lucy, who's been on the duty for over a decade, said that Jonathan is an enigmatic tortoise who's met many of the British royal family.
Good morning. The weather changes day to day these days, and we need an umbrella today. Rain will start from the western regions from mid-afternoon, gradually spreading east. And from tonight into tomorrow at dawn, it will rain heavily in central parts of the country, along with thunderstorms. Making matters worse, the rain could be mixed with yellow dust in the air. After a chilly start, temperatures will jump this afternoon despite the showers, topping out at 16 degrees Celsius here in the capital. Then it will be even warmer at the weekend, reaching 21 degrees on Sunday, but the south coast and Jeju Island will be rainy throughout the weekend. Strong winds continue today with a dry advisory in Gyeongsang-do provinces still in place, and it should start to rain tonight in that area. Meanwhile, afternoon highs will be 2 to 8 degrees higher this afternoon. Daejeon, Gwangju topping out at 18 degrees Celsius. Now, the chance of rain returns early next week to the capital, but morning temperatures turn much warmer. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We'll be back next week for Monday's edition at the same time, 9 a.m. Korea time.